Hello everybody, welcome back. And this system, the one I found outside, I plugged it in the last video, and, well, maybe it's not the last video, but one of the previous videos. And it didn't explode, which is a good start. So I went and I got it some RAM. This is the Aegis. It is, if the camera would focus, remarkably slow, 2400 megatransfers per second, which, if you don't know anything about DDR and, well, the standards and speeds and whatnot, 2400 is slow, at least by modern standards. 2400 is actually the second slowest speed you can get for DDR4. So not all DDR4 is the same, if you didn't know. And 2400 is the second slowest. Now, there's a reason I got this one. One is it was the cheapest out there in price per gigabyte, and also just raw price. But also because, according to the specifications, this computer cannot take more than 2400 megatransfers per second. I'm kind of like 20%, maybe, possibly 20%, expecting it not to work, because according to the manufacturer website, it says that this board can only handle 16 gigabytes of RAM, and this is a kit of 32. However, I went to Crucial's website and it said that you can have up to 32, because it sold kits of up to 32 for this computer. So I don't really know who to trust. So I decided, since RAM is always useful, it's always good to have more RAM, that I would just get it, and if it didn't work, I could just get some other RAM. Now, I just realized that I never actually plugged in the CPU power cable. That would be a good thing to plug in. So let me just find it amongst the mess of cables. Where is the CPU? Oh, CPU power is way off over here on the side, hiding. The computer's not going to work so well if I don't plug in the... it's not currently plugged in, and it's currently off, so I don't feel at all uncomfortable working on it while the power cables are attached. It's completely drained of all power. I've tested it, it's fine, in case anyone is concerned. Right, so let's pop open this kit. And unfortunately, I don't really have a way of popping it open while also showing the camera. There we go. It's now been popped open, and let's see what we have inside. We have a card with just general information. It says, do not mix memory kits. Memory kits are sold matching kits that are designed to run together as a set. Mixing memory kits will result in stability issues or system failure. Blah, 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 blah. Just general stuff about how, yeah, stuff. Just general stuff. Comes with a little G-Skill sticker. I don't really care. I don't know, put it somewhere. Don't really know. I mean, it's not exactly something I'm proud of. I wouldn't proudly display this sticker and say, look, I have the second slowest memory standard in the DDR4 category. I wouldn't proudly display that on my computer, so maybe that's just me. And then we actually have the kit itself. So let's put this down and carefully remove these two, this kit. And let's maybe hopefully try and do it in a way it doesn't break it, as that would be unfortunate. Come on. It's really being annoying. There we go. That was tough. Way tougher than it needed to be. Oh, I see. It's supposed to pop it out from there. Okay. Well, the good thing is that memory is fairly robust. It's by far not the most sensitive component. And we're just gonna line up the grooves like that. Well, first we should probably open up the dim channels, because that would be bad to try and force it in there with the dim channels closed. And let's take our RAM. And this is always one of the most satisfying things. Well, potentially satisfying things. Potentially terrifying if you don't know what you're doing. And let us just make sure that that is properly seated in there. And what I like to do is just clip it down one at a time. There we go. Nice click. I'm just going to put this down for the other one. Can't really see it that well anyways. I don't have the best lighting, but that looks firmly in there. And let's put in the other one. I know that on Linus Tech Tips channel, for instance, it always looks really smooth, buttery smooth when he puts in the memory channel, the memory sticks, but for me, they usually aren't very smooth. They're kind of stiff, but whatever. Maybe I just don't have the technique all the way there. Well, when you try and put RAM into a computer that's been outside for like 6 months, there might actually literally be grit in there. It looks fine inside, but I did blow it out with some compressed air, but you never know. But that might explain somewhat the grittiness. But there we got some nice clicks. It's always nice to have some good clicks. And that's the RAM. I also got this Crucial Ballistics 2 terabytes solid state. Let's just pop that open. Unfortunately, I don't have Windows on it. I have Windows on this hard drive, so I'm not actually going to use this thing directly. Not yet anyways. I will use this when the time comes, but in the meantime, it'll just sit inside this nice plastic clamshell. Well, I'll open it up just to show you all. It's a nice looking SSD in there, and it looks like inside we have a little plastic retainer thing. Okay, kind of pointless, but whatever. Then we have a little booklet with information, and then we actually have the drive itself, which is in this nice little aluminum enclosure. It's quite lightweight, but I don't really expect it to be heavy. There's really only about like this much of it is actually the PCB. The rest of it's just empty space. But whatever, that's standard form factor for you. All this extra just as waste, but whatever. So one thing I don't like about this whole 2.5-inch SSDs as the standard for SATA at this point for this kind of drive is that you have only this part up to about where my thumbnail is actually going to be actually SSD. The rest of it's just hollow space. But oh well, whatever. Let's just put that back in there. The general rule of thumb is to touch computer components as little as possible, because the more you touch it, the more chances something has to go wrong. I say as I manhandle it for no reason. Come on, you little plastic thing. I mean, I know what the little plastic thing is for. It's to keep it all situated or something. I'll close that up another time. We'll just put that for there. But yeah, since I have Windows installed on this hard drive, we'll just boot off this hard drive. It's okay though. It won't be that bad. Right. Yeah, let's hook up a HDMI cable. Alright, HDMI cable hooked up, and let's take this here mouse, and we'll hook up the mouse and the keyboard, and we'll hook it up to the, come on, we'll hook it up just to this 3.0 thing over here. Come on. Oh, great. It has me caught the Velcro on this. There it is. Anyways, we'll plug it into these two USB 3.0 ports. Sorry for the lack of light. I don't exactly have a studio. I have a ceiling light. Whatever. There we go. Kind of a bit stiff, but yeah, if you don't know the history or the story of this computer, watch the previous videos in the series. But the long story short, I found it outside, basically rotting away for at least 3 months. Probably more like 6 months. So yeah, I basically had to clean up the entire board because it was covered with dirt and rust. But the ports themselves, I blew them out with some compressed air, but they're not the smoothest thing in the world. And then it's just a little Wi-Fi card I have for some easy Wi-Fi. Anyways, right, that is it. All we have to do now is turn on the TV so we can see if we actually get an output. And plug in the power supply. And I hope it doesn't explode, because if it explodes, that would be a waste of some brand new RAM. But yeah. I guess I don't need both channels in there in case it explodes. But whatever, we'll just keep both of them in there. Yeah. If it doesn't boot up, I'm going to assume that indeed it cannot take 32 gigs. In which case, Crucial will have lied to me. Well, for all I know, Crucial will say, well, we showed you our kits. These are G-Skill kits. Never mind that this kit of the exact same RAM, seemingly in every way, is 2 times as much because it's bought from us. Well, who knows. Anyways, I'm rambling. I think you get the idea. I don't have a graphics card right now, so I will not have anything in this slot. We'll just be using the onboard graphics. But if it doesn't turn on, I'll know that it's the RAM, because that's the only thing that changed from this setup last time I tested it. So if it doesn't work, I think I can be fairly sure it's the RAM. I suppose I didn't have the hard drive in there, but I know this hard drive works. Anyways, flick the power, and then grab our power switch, our disembodied power switch, and let's hit it. Oh, well, there we go. At first I was a bit worried. Didn't kind of started up but then stopped. And let's hope we post. Or if we don't post, we get some sort of error code. It's giving a solid green light for the status indicator. So far we have nothing though. And it just shut off. And now it's back on. I mean, it could just be doing some sort of thing. I mean, for all I know, it's booting into Windows because I have a hard drive attached. Oh, there it is. Aha! The CMOS checksum is invalid. The CMOS will reset to the default configuration and computer will restart. Afterwards, please check the BIOS setup options to see if they change. CMOS reset. Whatchamacallem. I suppose I should be ready on the delete for the keyboard. The fan is not operating correctly. Continued operation is not recommended. Your HP being caused unpredictable behavior. Fan error. Interesting. Fan error. The fan appears to be fine. Alright, I think I'm going to do some troubleshooting and I'll be back with you in a little bit. Alright, so I figured out what the problem was. The problem was firstly that apparently, because this is of course some sort of OEM type concept, if you don't have the system fan, which is completely not needed in this case, but if you don't have that damn system fan plugged in, the thing doesn't boot up. Ah, the glories of OEM boards. It honestly doesn't surprise me. But hey, the RAM works. The BIOS reports it correctly. Not that the BIOS really were all that useful. I mean, again, OEM board type situation. Lockdown to hell and back. You have no options for setting any of the speeds of anything. No overclocking, nothing. And this is why you don't game on an OEM board. This is why you buy a consumer motherboard. But, you know, I have it in my possession, and there's no reason it should go to the landfill, even though really it's what it deserves. There's no reason it should go to the landfill. It's a working computer. It's just stupid. Well, it's not stupid. HP is stupid. Dell, Lenovo, all these various, Acer, all these various OEMs that basically just make crap destined for the landfill because it only works in one specific case, in one specific way. Anyways, then the hard drive wasn't working, so I plugged in my USB Windows boot media, and I'm instead going to install it on this SSD. And that's what we're looking at here. So I'm going to run through these prompts and get it all set up, and I will show you the windows. All right. Hello and welcome back. Sorry for the flicker, it's just something that happens with the camera. Yeah, would you look at that? Windows downloaded and booted right up. And yeah, we have ourselves some Windows. Yeah. Sorry about the flicker again. I can't really change anything about that. It just shows up on the camera. Yeah, so now that I know the computer works, all that's left is to upgrade it. I ended up removing the Wi-Fi card for right now because Windows is being a little bitch and making me sign in to my Microsoft account in order to proceed, so I had to restart the installation process because I didn't want to do that. Anyways, in terms of upgrades, this thing is quite limited because it's an OEM crap board, pile of crap board that really no one should ever use, and honestly should never even been produced in the first place because it's a pile of crap. But whatever, e-waste basically. From the moment it's created, it's e-waste. Anyways, yeah. In terms of upgrades, there are really not many. In fact, the only real upgrade at this point is actually just putting in the graphics card. I intend to get a 1080 that I know about in my local area. Thinking about buying that. Although I might alternatively get a different one. We'll see what kind of graphics card I get. But the 1080 is currently the one I'm looking at getting. Yeah. But no, in terms of upgrades, there really isn't anything to speak of. Other than getting a graphics card in that primary time 16 slot. If we look at the front I/O, it plugs into this header, this header, this header, this header, and this header, which means the only kind of upgrades that I can do, this is the Wi-Fi card slot. I'm going to test that at some point and see if the Wi-Fi card works. That way I can, instead of using this for Wi-Fi, I'm actually going to plug into this one. I intend to plug in a USB card because this thing only has 4 USB ports, which is abominable, considering especially that you need 2 at least at all times for keyboard and mouse. That only leaves you 2 more for any other kind of long-term connectivity. But yeah. So Wi-Fi card goes there, which means that, and the USB will come off of this header to the expansion card there, which will then have the 2 USB slots. And that really is all the upgradability I can do. Graphics card, USB expansion, and that's basically it. It's a fairly barren motherboard. Artificially so, I must add. I've looked around and I can see many things that have the pin outs for it. They have the solder points, but just don't have it. It's one of those things that HP and Lenovo and whatnot love to do, which is to create a basic board and then make like 10 different models with various levels of artificial limitation to encourage you to buy the better one, because if you don't buy the better one, there's no way to upgrade it in the future. This is probably, given the way it looks, probably the very absolute basic model of the HP Pavilion. Given the hardware specs I looked up on the site, I think this thing is basically as cheap as it got when it came to this lineup. We have 3 SATA ports. One for the SSD. I'm also going to plug a hard disk in there for bulk storage. This is going to be the operating system and games drive and whatnot like that. Stuff that's not really speed dependent, I'm going to plug into there. So I'm going to have 1 more SATA drive slot available. And yeah, it's basically, there's not really any room for upgrades, which is a pity. But oh well, it doesn't really matter. This is just a fun project, basically, to see if it was still working. I very much have my $5,200 computer, if you didn't know, and 16 cores, 32 threads, 3090 Ti. Let's just put it this way, I don't really care that much if this thing isn't amazing. It was always just for fun. Yeah. And there's our Windows. So, next video in this series will be when I have the graphics card. I'm not positive when that will be. I'm not even positive which graphics card I'm going to get for it. We'll see. Yeah, it's basically about finding which card is the best for the economics of the situation. Like, I could go out and get a 3060 or something like that, or 3050 Ti or whatever, I don't know. The only problem is that that would be way too powerful for this poor little i5 7400, I think it is. Let me quickly pull up my task manager and see what it is. I think it's the i5 70, yeah, i5 7400. So I don't know exactly how it would work, but I imagine any card in the 30 series would be too much for this processor, and possibly any card in the 20 series as well, but I'm not entirely sure. It's just a rough guess. If you didn't know, it's not the greatest thing in the world to have it's much better to have a graphics card bottleneck than a CPU bottleneck, because if I say put a 3060 in there or whatever, and it ends up bottlenecking the graphics card by like 30%, that means that CPU, that poor little CPU, is going to be running at 100% capacity, and the graphics card is going to be sitting at like 60%, and at that point, why have you spent the extra money? You might as well just spend 30% less. Also, it means that background processes will not be nearly as effective because of the CPU being completely consumed with graphical operations. Anyways, I will see you when I have the upgrades. Bye.